Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Becoming a Powerhouse Brand. Today on the show, I have got the lovely Karen Goodchild on, who is the creator of the Frequency Factor. And I know I've talked about frequency, energetics, and all of that jazz in my journey because it's been huge for me in terms of growing my personal brand and really stepping out with confidence in a way that is really aligned to me. So I'm really excited because Karen and I connected in a recent networking challenge online. And I actually had a frequency alignment session with Karen just yesterday. And we will talk about that a little bit. But Karen, welcome to the show. It's lovely to have you on.
Thanks for having me on. It's great to be here.
Thank you. Just for our listeners, could you just tell us a bit about your background and what even is the frequency factor?
Okay, yeah, I can talk about this forever, but for me, it all started. I think anybody who's into this work, when they get to this point where they understand it, they realize that yeah, I've kind of always known, I've always been connected to energy, I've always been aware that there's something there, even as a child, but never had that understanding. So. That was for me. As I was growing up, I always had this sense that there was, something else, something extra, something I couldn't understand. Nobody could logically explain to me. But then, of course, I got, caught up in life. And I suppose it was when I got to my late 20s that I discovered Reiki, which is where most people start with this work, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, discovered Reiki, absolutely loved it, felt the amazing effects from it. But that was it really for quite a long time. I was caught up in my work. I went from a sales and marketing background in corporate into education, first going out to teach English in Japan, but then that expanded into lecturing in higher education. And then kids come along and I reached a stage in my life. It was actually after I lost my mum. So my mum was poorly for a long time. It was an awful situation. And just to cut a long story short there, afterwards, after she passed away, I had a 6-month-old and a 3-year-old. And I was in what I would call my rock bottom. My relationship was struggling. I was like just kind of losing it with the kids far more than I would like to. My patience was thin. And there was one pivotal moment that I remember. I was sitting on the couch one evening. I think my partner was probably upstairs. We'd probably had another row. My kids were in bed. I was watching something mind-numbing on the telly. I had a glass of wine in one hand, a packet of crisps in the other. And we just kind of have an out-of-body experience. I looked at myself and I pictured my mum. Now, without going into too much detail about my mum's story, my mum had a pretty traumatic life. She did the best she could with it, but she never fully healed from it. And I believe she died. She had a brain tumor and bowel cancer. That's what got her in the end. And I believe that had she healed from that trauma, she would still be with us today. That's my belief. And she passed away at age 67, far too
Mm.
young. And I just checked myself in that moment, and this was exactly what my mum used to do. She went through a divorce with my dad. In her final years, that was pretty much what she did, sit on the couch with a glass of wine and a packet of crisps watching telly. She was a lovely woman. She wasn't wallowing in her own self-pity. She had so much love to give, but she never healed from her trauma. And I just looked at myself, and the first thing I thought was my girl's upstairs. And I thought,
Yeah.
if I go down that route and I'm gone at 67, I had kids when I was quite late. I had my first one when I was 38, my second one when I was 41. Um, I thought, I can't do this to them. I can't go down that route that my mum went to. I need to heal. So that was the start of my journey. That was the start of my search. And it took a lot of trial and error, finding different things, different practices, but just following the breadcrumbs. Everybody said at the time, just follow the breadcrumbs, take baby steps, which I found really frustrating because I just wanted to heal. I
Yeah.
just wanted to feel
You
better.
just want to get to the end, don't you?
Just wanted to get to the end. But when I look back now, actually, it did happen really, really quickly because I did follow those breadcrumbs and I did follow those footsteps. So for me, it started with Kundalini yoga. So I'd already been practicing Kundalini yoga, I'd already felt the effects of it. And then when I'd made this decision to go on this journey, a course popped up, as it does on Facebook, Kundalini Yoga teacher training in Liverpool starting in September, which is probably a couple of months away. I was like, perfect. Signed up for it. Boom. The next day, I got something flashed up on my screen which really piqued my interest, and it was systematic kinesiology. And I'd never heard of this before, but when I looked into it, I was like, this is exactly what I'm looking for. It was body balancing, it was physical body balancing that include nutrition, that include emotional releasing, it include mindset work, but it was actually working with the physical body and bringing that back into balance. And I was like, this is what I want as well. I don't want to just do the energetics. I want it
Yeah.
to be actual physical nervous system balance. So I trained in that at the same time. And then the missing part I discovered was the soul connection. So then I found a mentor that was teaching soul connection in a way that I'd never taught it before because traditional spiritual teachings weren't really resonating with me. I wasn't really resonating with the chakra system,
Yeah.
crystals, tarot, anything like that. It always made me feel a little bit better in the moment, but it never really got to it never really fully resonated with me. So then I found a mentor that taught spirituality in a way that really resonated. So I brought all of that together, as well as training in emotion code, body code, belief coding, all of the other things. And it was just like, right, I've got the full package here. I've got the spiritual work, I've got the energy work, I've got the mindset, I've got the physical body
Yeah.
balancing. I've got it all. Now I'm just going to create my own framework because they were all kind of standalone packages. I thought this needs to be delivered in one package because this is what everybody needs. They don't need a bit of this, a bit of that, a bit of this. They need it
Yeah.
all. And that's where the frequency factor comes from. It comes from the encompassment of body, mind, soul balancing.
I
So
love that.
yeah, my pure gold package at the moment, it's for diamond leaders, those that have lost their shine that want to shine again. So my pure gold package is the solid gold that holds the diamond, and the frequency factor is the shine that makes the diamond shine again.
I love that. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
I
So
think it's really interesting you talking about finding a mentor that works for you because obviously there are so many different practices and specialisms in energy work and frequency work and everything. And there's everybody does things their own way. Like it's all about following those breadcrumbs, isn't it? And seeing what works for you, but also what works for you as a mentor, as a coach, if you're teaching those things. I think it's such a beautiful thing that you can experiment in all these different things. Like for me personally, I've done so many different things. Like I've done akashics, human design, frequency work, blue, what was it called? Timeline therapy, belief coding, like so many different things. And mine actually did start with Reiki as well. That was what kind of, I always say, it healed me. It was my like spiritual moment.
yeah,
But I just think it's so beautiful that people can sort of experiment in these things and see what works for them because there's no one way of doing anything, is there, with this work?
exactly. There's not, no. And that's another reason why, when I've been doing my business coaching, I've always get told to do a competitive analysis, and I can't because I don't see us as competitors.
Yeah,
No one person, we're all different. We're all going to resonate with completely different people. So I'm not out there trying to win everybody, trying to speak to everybody. There's going to be people out there who resonate with what I'm saying, with my frequency, with the way I deliver. And there's people that won't. And there'll
yeah,
be people for them. And yeah, there's no one way that fixes. I mean, that's the way I work. I don't say, right, this is what you need to do, go away and do it. I was like, right, let's look at your energy, let's look at you, let's look at how you work, what resonates, and let's create something that's gonna fit in with your lifestyle, with your energy, with your values, with your beliefs,
yeah.
and we move forward from that place.
I love that. So,
Mhm.
what is the frequency factor?
The frequency factor is it's the shine. It's the shine from the inside out. So that's why I work with it's not just energetics, it's physical body as well, which is a bit of a contradiction because the body is we're all energy, everything's energy, our organs are energy. But I work with the physical body, ensuring that energetically the body is in balance, so all the body systems are working in alignment. Because if your body systems are out of alignment, if your digestive system is out of alignment, your immune system, your nervous system, that's going to affect the level of radiance, the shine from the inside out. So the frequency factor is making sure all body systems are in balance, that your mindset is in alignment with your higher frequency, not with where you've come from, with where you're heading towards, who you are
Yeah,
becoming,
I love
and
that.
that your thoughts, actions, values, beliefs, what you say yes to, what you say no to, are all in alignment with who you are becoming. That's the frequency factor, shining from the inside out and creating that aligned momentum. Now, aligned momentum is very, very different to aligned action. So everybody talks about the importance of aligned action when it comes to manifesting, which I agree with. However, the trouble with aligned action, I have found, and it's something I used to teach actually, the aligned action. The trouble with aligned action is you sit waiting for the guidance, you sit waiting for something to feel good before you move forward with it. And what that can mean is it creates this stop-start energy because people then don't move when it doesn't feel good.
Yeah,
However, the problem with that is sometimes when you're moving into this higher frequency energy, it's uncomfortable. It does feel difficult. It does feel a bit icky. And people can confuse that with feeling out of alignment. That's why
yeah,
it's really important to have a mentor and someone to guide you through to help show you the difference between, yes, uncomfortable aligned momentum and moving in a way that's kind of hustling and forcing. It's a fine line
yeah.
really. So I teach aligned momentum where you can keep moving forward in alignment even when it feels uncomfortable, even when it feels difficult. And that is also a part of the frequency factor.
I love that. And I talk a lot about aligned visibility as well in terms of being visible for your business. And I think there's so many times when I speak to my clients and they're saying, "Oh, but that feels really uncomfortable. I don't want to do that thing." And they ooze magnetism with how they show up. And I'm like, you need to get on video. It's just, and they'll say to me, "Well, I'm not sure it's in alignment because it just feels uncomfortable." I'm like, yes, but you literally are a magnet in how you show up. Like you need to do these things. And I think it does feel, like you say, it does feel stretchy and uncomfortable, doesn't it? But like we talked
Yes.
about yesterday in my session that I had with you, it's about really like moving forwards, isn't it? And like testing, like I was in that balance of the two levels. Like we talked about yesterday, how I have been kind of emerging from my previous level and going into my next level. And I know, because I know that I've been doing this, I've kind of been dancing between the two because it doesn't feel comfortable, it doesn't feel safe. And I feel like I'm leaving kind of that part of me and that part of my business behind. But actually that is how you move forward, how you scale. So
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely. It's not easy, and I think it's so important to have a mentor. And if you're serious about it, if you really want to, it's a choice as well. You have to make that that intention, that choice. Right, I'm doing this.
yeah,
But I think it's so important to have a mentor and a guide that has the capacity to hold you at that level, to meet you where you are and hold you through that transition. Because as I say, you get stuck. I've been there. You've been there.
yeah,
We just get stuck in that dance between the backwards and forwards because it's unclear and we're so used to waiting for alignment and that blurred line between what's alignment and what's forcing and pushing. It's it's a fine line, and to
yeah.
have that guidance and mentorship, I think is really important.
I love that.
That's my personal experience as well, because I think when you've done so much inner work and so much spiritual work and you feel fully connected to yourself and you know what it feels like to have that guidance, you know you can do this yourself, it puts those barriers up to seeking out that help. That was me for far too long. It's like I can do this. I'm connected. I've done
Yeah,
this before. I know who I am. I don't need somebody telling me what to do. And that kept me that mindset kept me stuck for far too long. It's like
yeah,
actually I could do with some help and support for somebody, and that this is where the importance of the right mentor comes in. It has to be somebody who has the capacity to hold you at that level. And that's where you have to be really, really careful. And that's where I've made mistakes in the past as well,
yeah,
where the mentors have not had the full capacity to hold me at that level. And especially we talked about yesterday about being big energies, haven't we? When
yeah,
you're a big energy like you are, I am, and we kind of like shrink our energy to make other people feel more
yeah,
comfortable. But I've done that with mentors as well. I've
yeah,
put them on a pedestal and shrunk my energy just because of how they've positioned themselves, and it hasn't worked. And so I
yeah.
think it's, yeah, really important to find that right mentor who can hold you at that level.
Absolutely. I think like it's having the accountability as well, isn't it? Like you can feel so confident in what you're doing and know what is aligned to you. You might know yourself inside out and know all the practices to do to get you on track if you're having like a rough day or
Yeah.
something. But it is like everybody needs that accountability, don't they? They all need that guidance. And I think even if you're fully in alignment and you know all the practices that work for you, we can be our own worst enemies at times, can't we? And self-sabotage, even when we're not even realizing we're doing it. So to have somebody else that is going to support you through each of those stages, because and this is something I talk about a lot, is the scaling stage of business can feel really uncomfortable because it's unknown. You don't know what's on the other side. And even though you might have these massive goals, this big vision, and see it so clearly, getting from where you are now to that is really challenging. And it's not even, I always talk about my first few years in business, in the growing, the learning. You're just hungry for all this information. And it's almost, as much as it's challenging to obviously get those initial clients and everything, it's so easy to grow at that stage because there is just a sponge. It's like children, how they just absorb all this information. You're literally a sponge in the infancy of your business, that you don't know how to create things like automations and funnels and be visible and how to use Canva and all of the different things that come with running a business. But when you know all of that inside out, you've got your business set up and you are in that scaling stage, it's then almost, it's all about you, isn't it? It's about you identity shifting and becoming this whole new version of yourself without necessarily needing extra tools and strategies. Like you almost have the strategy. It is that the
Yes.
embodiment piece, isn't it?
Exactly, exactly. It's like what we talked about yesterday. It's that identity shift. Exactly. The frequency shift requires an identity shift. And I think
Yeah.
this is where people get stuck as well. They shift their frequency. And I explained yesterday to you, didn't I? So what happens when you expand your frequency? You've got your inner being, which is your container for your soul. It's like an energetic cylindrical container, runs right down the center of your body. It contains your soul. When you expand, your inner being literally expands and opens up this untapped potential. So your soul expands. So you've got to know this part of your soul. The clarity comes because you're like, right, I've connected to my soul. I understand my purpose. I've got the learning. I've found the right people. And then your inner being expands and you've got all this uncertainty now,
Yeah.
all this newness, this new potential to explore. And that's where people get uncomfortable. And that's why people stay down here where they know themselves. They know that identity. So they're aware of this potential here. They can almost feel it, touch it, like, oh God, I know it's there, but I can't quite reach it because the identity shift hasn't happened. I compared it to opening up a new level of a computer game, didn't I? Where,
Yeah.
okay, you've opened up the new level. You've got to go and explore now. What thoughts, what feelings, what values, what actions do you need to adopt now or take on or become this identity in order to complete this level?
Yeah.
And it's constant, and then you open up again and you open up again.
Yeah.
So
And
even
will
for,
there be stages, even when you've opened up all of that, that you will kind of maybe step back a little bit and almost have to realign yourself again? Or is it one of those things that once you are in alignment, you're kind of done, it's just moving up from there?
it's constant. I think you could speak to people at the highest income levels, seven, eight figure entrepreneurs who are still working through the next level, what it's going to require, the mindset shifts, the identity shifts that it requires to operate at this next level. And I think for those of us in this work, it is about constant expansion. It's not about wanting more, wanting more, wanting more. It's when you're doing it from a soul perspective, it literally is that opening up of your soul and it's that bigger purpose, that higher frequency energy that you open yourself up to accessing,
Yeah.
that impact that you're going to have. And when you raise your frequency, just on this, because I can imagine some people listening to this and as we're talking and thinking about it, it from a greed perspective of I want more, I want more, I want more. It's not that when you're operating from a higher frequency. When you are operating from a higher frequency, your desires, your goals, your intentions are not only for the good for yourself, your loved ones, but are for the greater good. It has to be at the higher frequencies.
Yeah.
So the majority of the planet have been operating at a lower frequency where it's all about self-gratification and behaviors that are destructive to the self and the planet. This is kind of like the old age, the Piscean age. We're shifting out of that now. The vibration, the frequency of the planet is shifting, where people are naturally, as a result of that, becoming more aware of their impact on others and on the world. It's a natural response to higher frequencies. So just going back to, your question, when you expand, 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 yeah, it opens up new levels, new desires, new goals, new intentions, but they always are for the greater good. They have to be. They
Yeah,
cannot be at this level. That's
yeah,
that's what really fuels my work. It's like, well, how, what change do I want to see in the world? Like many of us, more world peace,
yeah,
happiness, all the
yeah,
things, healthier, happier lifestyles.
yeah.
But it has to come from the individuals.
Yeah. I think it's so beautiful, and it's something that I definitely notice more now that I've been doing more of this work is I grew up very much thinking that people that had money were kind of greedy and they didn't care about other people because that's like how I was conditioned to sort of believe. And it's only since doing this work myself that I just see how much of an incredible impact those sort of 7, 8 figure business owners are creating globally with the movements that they create and what they're here to do. And all of them, like you say, are continuously working through their limiting beliefs and where things feel uncomfortable and stretchy, because we're not, when we're like born in this world, we're not born with the confidence and the strategy and the like the vision of what you can create with creating these global movements. It's something that you have to work through and, like you say, stretch and really tap into what feels good and in alignment with you. And yeah, it's just such an incredible thing when you get to witness these people that are literally like creating such incredible change throughout the world. And obviously there's a lot of work to do, but I have definitely noticed that shift in how people are showing up, and they are more caring on the whole from people that I definitely see. Yeah, it's really beautiful to see.
Yeah, there's still a lot of breaking down of old systems, which we can see it happening.
Yeah,
We can see
yeah,
it just there's still a lot of breaking down of those old systems that were about self-gratification and destructive to people and the planet. There's still a lot of those systems in place. I'm not denying that, but it's where you focus, isn't it? And as you've said, when you look in the right places, you can see the shift in the way people are operating when it comes to money, when it comes to wealth. And it is in a way now that is more beneficial for all.
yeah, absolutely.
Mm.
It's been so lovely to have you on, Karen. Thank you for talking about all of this. And I think this is such important work. And I'd love to also just quickly touch on how this really is like the domino effect, isn't it? When you can start working on one domino and focusing on like whether it is your health, if you've got any issues with your health, if you can fully focus on one thing, it creates that domino effect on all the other things. And I think so often, like I know I've been in programs, particularly when I was growing my business, that there was always something around mindset, but it was very surface level. It's very like say your affirmations and do some journaling. It wasn't the deep sort of
No.
breaking down all the conditioning that you've literally been growing up with and believed. It's about really tapping into what is available to you and expanding who you are and identity shifting. But yeah, if you can focus on those dominoes and just focus on that first thing that you know needs sorting. So whether it is you're constantly spiraling with, I don't know, like a limiting belief around one particular thing, whether it's making money, then focus on that one thing. Like, where is that coming from? Because if you're trying to focus on all of the different things, you're just making it so much harder for yourself.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And when we work with me, we work with priority. So I ask your body, what is priority right now? Because you could have many things out of balance, whether it's in your body, mind, whatever. It could be many things out of balance. Well, if we work with a priority,
Yeah,
fix that or rebalance that, and then that domino effect
yeah,
occurs.
beautiful. Thank
Yeah.
you for coming on the show, Karen. How can people find you? What would be, if somebody's listened to this and thought I really need to like experience working with you, what would be their next step?
My website is karengoodchild.com. I'm on Facebook, just search for Karen Goodchild. My business page is Karen Goodchild Frequency Factor, or just my personal page, and Instagram frequency_factor.
Amazing. I will put all of the links in the show notes below. Do go and reach out to Karen. Let her know what you thought of this episode. If you've enjoyed this episode, please do leave a review as well. I genuinely check all of the reviews on the show. So that would be lovely if you could leave a review. And thank you so much again for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks, guys. Bye.